Yeah.
Sandy, should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got 20 people on, so
Wow.
6 o'clock. Let's go.
All right, I started the recording.
All right.
So we'll do roll call, and if anybody has any local updates to share, that will be your time. Brad.
Yep, present and no updates for my area tonight.
Connie.
Present, no updates.
Daniel.
Yep, Dan's here. No updates.
Jason.
No updates.
Joe. John.
Yeah, John's here. The only update I have from the Solid Waste Committee here in Ionia County is that the commissioners need to rule on the approved 200,000 ton cap limit for landfill. That's kind of the news that I have. We've had some, local incidents reports of just the landfill, odor and methane and that sort of a thing. So we're still wrestling with those guys on that. So that's kind of the update that I have.
Thank you, John. Lois.
I see she's on. There we go.
I was just looking up some dates, but you beat me to it. I attended the drinking water conference and met Mary Blanchard and Stacy. They're both from the Holly area. So that was a great thing to be able to meet them. And I attended all the PFAS talks that I could attend and got questioned by my former coworkers, like, why are you here? You're retired. But I said, I'm representing the COG. Well, what's the COG? And so it gave me an opportunity to talk a little bit about that.
Excellent. Thanks, Lois.
Thank you, Lois. Lynn Knopf. Lynn McIntosh. Mary Blanchard.
Mary's here, it looks like.
I was going to say Mary's on, but she's not responding. So.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was trying to unmute on the wrong spot. So hello, I'm here. And I did attend the drinking water conference that Eagle put on and enjoyed that process and learning some different things and enjoyed meeting Lois. And we've talked since then and I find that very helpful. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you, Mary. Patty Baldwin.
I'm here. No updates.
Tricia.
I am here and no updates.
Rick.
Here and no updates.
Sandy.
I'm here with no updates.
Shalene.
Here and no updates.
Stacy. Teresa. Bill Barnett.
I'm here. Thank you.
Bill, I know you've got some updates, don't you?
Everybody's updated. I'm sorry to pepper you with the microcosm of a city that is, working through these issues. And A to Z. So it's getting looked at, investigated. People are being informed. Our LDFA board went against their attorney, city manager, and consultant, well, utilities director, I guess. And they're doing a great job doing so. They're just open to investigating a little more than probably in the past. So they've turned a nice corner, and state's helping look into this. EPA's the oversight on top, and they're going to take up to a year to look at this. So I'm very pleased to see that. I was disappointed that human health was exposed to PFAS in our community, but it's unfortunate, and hoping that doesn't happen again. There's more homes getting looked at, more citizens, but it's certainly been a public issue up here, and it hopefully will quiet down. But on the other hand, it's getting a good review that it's needed. So everything's looking positive at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Dugan. Daniel Burlingame. Dave Wynn. Gail Manswitz.
I'm here and no updates.
Thank you. Pam McQueer. Richard Burns. Tamara.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you guys? It's Teresa Landrum. I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, got you down. Tony Spagnola.
Excuse me, I'm here on the phone having audio issues here, or computer issues on the visual. I do have an update. On September 3rd, the Assistant Secretary of Defense issued a memorandum, a guidance memorandum to all of the military service branches outlining the Department of Defense's planned efforts to comply with the new drinking water standards with regard to provision of alternate water and cleanups. And a group of us have met with the Assistant Secretary last week or the week before and asked him to hold a nationwide town hall for impacted defense communities. And he agreed to do that. It looks like it's going to be sometime in early to mid-November, and we'll certainly let the group know when we get the date for that and the link to join. That's all from me.
Thank you. Sandy, I think I got an email that we're moving Portia to the front. Is that correct?
I just saw a text about that, so I was going to interrupt and say if we could do that, because she's hopping to another meeting. So, Portia, I think you were going to talk about the survey you sent out.
What I'd like to do first, if possible, is report out on the public engagement subcommittee.
Perfect.
If possible. So we met today. We had the largest group of attendees that we've had since I've been joining the meeting in April. And we were actually joined by two new members who are also on this call, Jocelyn Marsack and Henry Castle. And they have joined from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And I would love for them to have the opportunity to introduce themselves to the group and talk a little bit about their background and how they can see this collaboration working towards improving the public notification process, which I think should take priority over the survey. We also talked about sending out a doodle poll to find out if there are other people who are currently members of the COG that are not attending the public engagement subcommittee due to the fact that it's right before this meeting, which makes for a very long evening. And also it's right at the commute time of 5 o'clock to 5:30, which many people are doing drop-offs and pickups with kids and encountering rush hour traffic. So we'd love to send a doodle poll out and see if there are any other people in the COG that would like to join, and also propose a couple of new meeting times and days so that we can extend the meeting length from 30 minutes to at least an hour. So that is the most important update, and I would love to be able to talk about the survey next month if possible, and dedicate that time to Jocelyn and Harry being able to introduce themselves and talk about how they see the public engagement and public notification process working a little bit better with their involvement.
Yeah, hey everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. Sorry, Sandy, if you are off mute, I missed you there. Sorry, but yeah. So I'm Jocelyn. I'm the PFAS program manager for DHHS. Kind of oversee all things PFAS over here on the DHHS side of things. My background is in Superfund site management and doing the work of that. So I did that in the engineering firm, consulting firm for the last 4, almost 5 years before coming to DHHS. Kind of did full scope of the remedial investigations, from cost estimates to project management to doing the sampling and human health and ecological risk assessments. Also did some work for the state of North Carolina and landfill remediation. That's kind of a big thing here. And, we've been hearing your concerns about public notification and stuff. So, started coming to the subcommittee this month, and, would really be interested in, working with y'all to better improve that and stuff. So, thank you all for, allowing us to be here and stuff, and for allowing us in the subcommittee, and, just really appreciate everybody's effort and time here. So thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, and I can introduce myself as well.
Yes.
Hi everyone. I'm Harry Castle. I'm the program community engagement coordinator here at NDHHS for PFAS stuff. I also work on the East Safe Fish program. So if you've seen my name floating around before, that might also be where that's from. I've worked on PFAS for a few years here at the state in kind of slightly different roles as we've grown and evolved. But just to kind of echo what Jocelyn said, I'm really excited to be part of the group, part of the subcommittee, and learning how to improve things, right? And kind of starting and having dialogue and conversation, and the opportunity to learn. So my background, I've been with the state for about 4 years. Like I said, a few different roles, but before that, I had my master's at MSU. I was in the Department of Community Sustainability, so looking at these kinds of issues, so environmental and sustainability-based issues, but really from a community-based ground-up perspective. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, and I care a great deal about. And then before then, undergrad in environmental science, so I've got a good science basis there as well. I'll kind of leave it there, but it's wonderful to see everyone, and glad to be part of the team.
Glad you guys are here. We're not really seeing anybody. Everybody's got their camera off, I noticed. So, all right, Portia, anything else you'd like to talk about or give some input on, or you got the floor?
I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions for Jocelyn and Harry before we move on. And if not, I'd love to move the survey until next month.
All right. Any questions? Anything else with this? Did you want to give any more on the engaging the public subcommittee discussion, Portia, or you good? You ready to jump to your next meeting?
We're going to, yeah, so everyone can, no, I can be here until 6:30. So everyone can expect to get an email from us about participating in the public engagement subcommittee. I'm just wondering if people are not attending because of the time. Rick was discussing today that he thought that public engagement and public notification were both one of the priorities for the entire group, and that there must be some reason for such a low attendance at the subcommittee that, you know, directly involves public engagement. So do we think that, and I'm just opening this up to anyone, do we think that changing the date, is there something preventing people from attending that subcommittee? We'd love to see higher attendance and participation to help move that priority forward, especially now that we have the involvement of Jocelyn and Harry. Does anyone want to throw out any ideas or suggestions for a different day or time?
That time is definitely not good for me. I think what you said was it's right at the middle when everybody's driving and you're trying to get ready for the meeting already. So that's why I haven't been able to attend, but I don't know what others think.
Agreed.
Anyone else?
That's the same thing for me. Beforehand, I don't think to come to a meeting before the meeting, because then I'm sitting here for how many hours?
Sure,
So
I
that's
understood
why.
completely. Yeah, so
Mary, you've got your hand up, Mary?
Yep, the one thing that I wanted to mention as well is that Lynn had suggested the possibility of changing the meeting from a half an hour to an hour, just so that we can get more accomplished.
I think that's a great idea, especially if you move it from in front of this meeting. I think
Correct.
that opens up a lot more time. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to move public notification forward faster. Thanks.
how do people in general feel about 12 to 1? I know that typically works for me Monday through Friday. I don't know how other people feel about that though. I know we have some people that are
good, but it depends on the day, because Wednesdays would not be good because I have another meeting on that same time.
I think
okay.
a doodle
So just
poll
not
may be
Wednesday.
your best option.
Yeah, but I want to have some options to put on the doodle poll and not just, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to get some ideas. So I know I'm not going to put 12 to 1 on Wednesdays. Is anyone else interested in joining that would like to suggest another time or a time that they definitely cannot come? It seems as if right before this meeting that's already 2 hours long is not going to be a good time. So are there any others that I could potentially add to the list so that they're not all just random or don't all just work for my schedule?
You know, Portia, what about the idea of suggesting that people who have conflicts but definitely want to participate send you their restrictions, and then you could work off of that maybe to create
great.
the doodle poll?
Okay, so I will put my email in the chat. So if anyone wants to reach out and send me your restrictions, then I will incorporate that into the doodle poll and then get that doodle poll out hopefully within the next couple of days.
Thanks, Portia.
Absolutely. Any other questions, comments, suggestions about this topic?
Well, yeah, Portia, this is Lynn McIntosh, and Kelly, I'm here. I think it's just as good. There are a few people such as myself, and I shouldn't speak for anybody else, so I won't. I almost did, but I do a lot of freelance, so I can be flexible. And the people who have greater flexibility, maybe mention that as well, because I would be glad to accommodate what works for people who have less of that flexibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. And we appreciate that.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I know that having an hour dedicated to this topic will be much more helpful than just 30 minutes. I think the reason why it was 30 minutes was because there were so many subcommittees running before this current 2-hour meeting that they were trying to make enough time for all 3 of those to run for 30 minutes prior. But if it's not right before this meeting, I think 1 hour should not be a problem if it's not before a 2-hour meeting. Any other comments or suggestions before we throw it back? Okay, great. Just to wrap it up then, I'll send out a doodle poll and incorporate any restrictions that are sent to me. My email is portia.fisher@icloud.com. I added it to the chat. Thank you very much to Harry and Jocelyn for attending. And also thank you to Brandon, who filled that role and was incredibly helpful for so long. And I'll look forward to sharing the results of the doodle poll and also the survey next month.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, anything else on that topic before I move us along? All right. Next on the agenda is the subcommittee reviews. So website review committee.
Okay, we did meet today at our normal 4:30 timeframe and discussed a little bit more about, you should have gotten as part of your weekly email, the notice that the GIS tools page is now live. If you haven't taken a look at that, I would encourage you to do that. It provides a more a better, I guess, jumping off point for use of the MEnviro or Michigan Enviro Water Resources Division program files, the RIDE files database for the RRD sites of environmental contamination, and the WellLogic water well records database, as well as another way to get to the GIS and data maps and data sites. So that's one of the things we looked at, and we're looking at some other things, but we will let you know as those progress. So anybody that's interested in attending the meetings at 4:30, the days of our Tuesday meeting, that would be great.
All right. Anybody? Come on, somebody must want to work on website stuff. I will say that Abby and I and Tony were at a conference yesterday at MSU about PFAS, and Abby was going through the MPART website and all that. And I was pretty razzle-dazzled by it. I hadn't really seen all the information that's on there. It's pretty impressive. So for all of you that have worked on it, it's an impressive tool. So, all right. Anything else, Brad?
That's it for me this month. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Let's see, preventative measures. I think that was Dave Wynn, and I think that's kind of been on hold. Unless there was anyone that was at that. Or Kelly, if you know anything about it. Okay.
Nope, haven't heard anything.
Okay, and then membership committee, is there anything for membership, Mary?
We have not met, and
Okay.
I don't know that we have anything at this point to work on.
All right.
That I did want to mention with Harry and Jocelyn was that I had attended a local officials call recently, and when they were going over the MPART site, they pointed out one of the documents that was for showing for community meetings and things like that. And I contacted Harry and Jocelyn and Brandon, and they were kind enough to send me a group of those documents for future meetings, and as well as the Eat Safe Fish program. And I just wanted to let people know I will send that out so people can see that in person. But also Harry is going to check on the regional staff list and see if we can send something similar to that out with that, so that when you see the document, if you want copies, that you might be able to reach out to the regional coordinator in your area so that you can get those directly from that person. Thanks.
Great. All right, I think that's it on subcommittees for now. Abby, are you doing this part?
I'll do this part. Before we go on to this part, I'll just say that Tony and Sandy participated yesterday in a panel discussion at the MSU PFAS Symposium and talked about their experiences being community members impacted by PFAS. And it was really well done. And everybody, even today, we're still commenting on how much that impacted them. They hadn't been to a conference like this where they actually got to hear from community members. And so I think it was, it was an important piece that was included in this particular conference to not just marry the science, but to bring the community members to actually talk about how the science, how the data, how these situations really impact them. So I thought it was very powerful. Also had Raymond Basile, is that how he says his last name, from the Grayling Rab, and Becca Munich from the National Wildlife Federation. So it was a great panel. And so kudos to Sandy and Tony for being part of that and continuing, as it's probably 101,000 times you've done that story, but it's really impactful, I think, for everybody to continue to hear it, because there were many people, a lot of researchers, a lot of people from Purdue, from Indiana, from University of Buffalo. I mean, they had a lot of great researchers there from all around the Great Lakes states. And so it was really a great group of people to be telling the story to just emphasize how much their research is going to benefit the communities in the long term. And so I think the mantra for today was, when it comes to PFAS research, PFAS is weird. It does not act like it's supposed to. There's not a direct cause and effect. You get some species that have very, very big sensitivity to PFAS mixtures, and then you give other ones that have none. And so it was very interesting to look at all of the data and just see that there is just nothing predictable about PFAS and the way that it acts. And so it may take us another 10 years to undo all of the mysteries of PFAS and try to make some sort of more predictable relationship. But in the meantime, as I keep telling everybody, we've got to make sure public health is taken care of so we can have time to work on the science piece of it, because it's going to take a while. So anyways, so that was a very interesting conference, which is actually still going on. We got one more day tomorrow morning or tomorrow to finish up for that MSU conference. So all right, so my next piece then is new MPART sites and areas of interest. So as I do with all those talks, I keep telling them Michigan's not more contaminated than the rest of the country. We just are looking. And so we are now up to 297 sites. Holy smokes. So McLeod Steel from Trenton has been listed. The Michigan Avenue dump over in Wayne County for Canton has been listed. GM Van Slyke was another one in Flint. The MBS International Airport over by Saginaw Freeland area there. That one we've known for a while, but we didn't have the right data to actually make it an MPART site. So we've been watching that one for a while. City of Sheboygan landfill and the Butterworth #2 landfill cell, the Superfund site there in Grand Rapids. Again, we've suspected it for a while, but we finally have the data now to truly make it an MPART site. And that's in coordination with, that's a Superfund site, so in coordination with EPA. So those are the big areas of interest for this month. We continue to work on gathering all of the data for the fast facts. And so I think it's really important to memorialize what we do every year because it's, Sandy and Tony were there, they heard it, but it's kind of embarrassing when you're sitting in these meetings and like, well, we've used the MPART data for this, and we've used the MPART data for the modeling, and we've used all of your fish data, and we've used all of your, so it's great that people get to take those puzzle pieces that we've put out there and use them from other things to try to advance the science. And so I think we can all be proud of the efforts that have gone on in Michigan to advance that science, because there's a lot of states that are really benefiting from it. So go ahead, Shelley, you got a question?
I do, thanks. So you listed a number of dumps in municipally owned landfills. So how is the municipality dealing with the costs of even just the testing, in trying to be a responsive partner with trying to handle the PFAS contaminants? Because the cost is really high. And it's not, certainly not something that a municipality planned for, certainly, especially if their landfill's closed. There's not usually money set aside for ongoing emerging contaminants that no one knew about 10, years ago, or we weren't aware of. So how are they handling that kind of financial impact? And is there any action at the state level to assist these municipalities?
Great question. No, there's no money yet at the state level for municipalities. I think it's something that needs to be addressed, but I have not heard any rumblings in the legislature from that. In these particular cases, I think most of these landfills were sampled by staff because they are very old landfills that are past their post-closure requirements. And so they don't have ongoing monitoring requirements. And so they've been, I don't know that anybody's looked at them in quite a long time. So I think staff were going out and actually sampling the existing monitoring wells just to see what was what. Most of them are pretty low concentrations. They weren't high strength industrial sources, so they're more like township dump type of things. But to your point, these are municipalities that do not probably have the long-term money. So we're going to have to work with each of those individually and kind of figure out case by case what kind of forward, ongoing monitoring plan we want to come up with. And every one of them is a little bit differently. So I'm not sure that we've got a guideline yet put in place for landfills, or even in some cases in the little township dumps that were never met the landfill definition. So
how many of those are there in the state?
Well, how many townships
Shelley
are
brought
there
up,
in the
I didn't even
state?
think of that. Shelley brought up a good question, right? Holly's dealing with that.
Sandy, in Bay City, we have now a $2 million budget to handle the contaminants in the landfill. That's taxpayers' money that could be used on roads, could be used on public safety, could be used in so many other places. But instead, we're spending it trying to remediate PFAS out of a landfill that's not impacting drinking water. It's extremely understandable and yet infuriating at the same time.
Sure.
We can't get any help.
Yeah.
It has the potential to bankrupt our city if it gets any worse.
Sure. And if it's happening to you, I would assume it's happening
There
elsewhere.
are others.
It's just, yeah.
And I think every single township in the state has got its own dump of some sort or another. In many cases, there's multiple small dumps. Some of them were just, household trash. Some of them were just white trash type of stuff. But there's others that were, something more industrial, those kinds of things. Most of those never did make it to the formal landfill stage and actually get capped or get any additional work. So we're probably looking, there's got to be at least hundreds. I'm sure Mike Jury would have a different number, or higher than that of numbers that we would look at for potential dumps, because I won't call them landfills, but potential dumps in the state that are unidentified or unmonitored at this point.
All right. Well, Shelley, I'm glad you brought that up. It's just one more thing to keep me up at night, but something we should, as a state, we're going to have to address at some point, because we can't bankrupt townships over this,
No,
So-
this is the one thing that causes me financial concern for our city every single year when we set budgets.
Yeah, let's you and I talk off and figure out if we can figure something out.
And it needs to be a holistic plan,
Yes.
because to Shelley's point, the cities and the municipalities own the township dump, the township or city water system, and the sewer system. So you're talking about many public services that are funded
Are
by
being
ratepayers
touched by this. Yep.
that are also all going to include PFAS. So it's not an easy solution. So anyways, yes, great point, Shelley. Thank you. So we're working on our fast facts for 2024. So we'll be gathering additional data, try to get those out before the beginning of December is what our goal is every year on those. And that represents all the work that we've done in the fiscal year. And then one of the other big tasks on our list is ongoing collaboration. We've met probably 3-4 times now to talk about the Cadillac industrial area, getting a handle on, okay, who's doing what. There's many different agencies and partners involved in that. And thank you to Bill for all of his emails and all of his constant updates. He's been a wealth of information. So thank you, Bill. You've definitely made our job more easy. We're in the process of town hall planning and residential well sampling. So I think we're in pretty good shape for starting to send out those letters. So Ian, go ahead.
Thanks, Abby. I just had a quick message for Bill. Bill, I owe you a phone call. I'm gonna call you tomorrow if that's okay. Please let me know. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your meeting.
Nope, that's
It's
all right.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm listening and thank you. I look forward to that. And thank you, everybody, for your patience. Hopefully things will slow down here and turn in a good direction.
Yeah.
Continue. It's going great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bill. So just know, we're not given a ton of details yet because we're still finalizing things, but there's a flurry of activity going on behind the scenes around that Cadillac industrial area, and trying to dig up data and dig up additional information as we go. So we've been in contact with EPA, local health, with multiple divisions within Eagle, as well as our DHHS partners, and we're pulling it all together. So Lynn, go ahead.
Well, since Ian Smith got on, I thought I'd use that as my little bell, sort of out of the blue. But Ian, I wanted to share with you and share to the group the gratitude I had for the follow-up call and all the time you took to help explain the MCLs and that whole process. Ian answered all of my questions, and it meant a lot to have someone take all that time. The only thing that I'm not clear on, because it came up at the last meeting, is what are the possible impacts of the townships? I mean, not the townships, but the industrial community, and maybe even, I don't know, Tony said something out about even water operators suing the EPA about the lowered MCLs. And so I still don't know how much of a concern that is, but anyway, we talked everything through, and I didn't get a chance to say anything at the last meeting. So there you go.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Lynn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thanks, Lynn. Mary, looks like your hand's up.
Yep, I just want to report, Mike Jury put in the chat, if anybody didn't see it, to give you an idea. My former 12 county district had 302 dumps / landfills, thousands easily across the state.
Yep. And that's one of those things we're going to have to continue to tackle as we work our way through these things. Hopefully.
And that's only because I looked for them. Other districts, maybe not, but I mean, I took a lot of time to make sure I knew where they all were, because I felt someday somebody would want to know.
Yeah, we do not have them mapped across the state. So that's the other thing. They're not all known as to exactly where they were. So, all right. Thanks for that upbeat fact there, Mike. Whoops, if you're muted, Sandy, if you were talking.
Can I ask Abby, on those new sites that you've got that you listed, are there any town halls or anything planned, or are those any residential wells impacted by those?
No. All of them have already been assessed for residential wells. We asked the local officials, or they had no residential wells around them because of their location. There's several of them that are just on rivers that don't have residential wells directly adjacent or down gradient. And then, yeah, and we've talked with the local officials, did not get, I don't think any of these have asked for a follow-up meeting. Amy, do you know?
Let's see. Yeah, so we sent out an email to all local officials for every single one of these, right? And so I can check my tracker to see if any of them actually, prior to posting, actually asked for a call with local officials. But yeah, most of these don't have any res wells nearby, but the former city of Sheboygan landfill, the status update today is there was one resident down gradient we just got permission for. So we plan to sample their wells. And then in the case of MBS International Airport, because it was an area of interest previously, we did proactive sampling around that and tested 4 wells back in 2021, and they were all non-detect. So.
Okay. All right, but they are on by rivers or something. Connie was, I don't know if Connie's still on. Connie, I see the Wayne County ones, and I know you've talked about that. Is that what you're concerned about? Is those with the rivers or?
Well, people always say Wayne County doesn't have any residential wells. If you look at Woodland Meadows, Waste Management's landfill, there's 13 residential wells in that area. I don't know if they've ever been tested. The other thing is Waste Management has the North Landfill, which is a RCRA site, which has never been addressed by anybody. Not by the state, not by EPA. It seems like Wayne County always gets kicked to the curb. I always keep saying that. You always say no residential wells. Well, sometimes, you're wrong, and you should look for that. And you should address a hazardous waste site. Waste Management's North Landfill, South Landfill, and a portion of its current landfill are unlined. Can you imagine that? Unlined? And it started in 1974. You have hazardous waste that was dumped in the North Landfill, in the South Landfill, and nothing's being done. We just, okay, so let it be. Well, there's people living right across from that. West Village is 900 families right across from, I would call it a toxic, hazardous waste dump. Well, I'll get off my soapbox. All right. Yeah, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned that these large companies that make $20 billion a year do not take responsibility for unlined landfills, for a RCRA site. That is wrong. All right,
Okay.
that's it.
All right, well, no, that's good. That's why, because 2 of those are in Wayne County, and I'm trying to be sensitive to that. So I guess I would ask Amy if we could just make sure that there are not actually residential wells around those sites. Same with Flint. I mean, Flint's had enough issues, but okay.
Mhm.
All right. Just trying to be on top of that stuff. And maybe Connie, if you have connections there too, we may have to do our part as CAG members too to find out. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Amy, you've got your hand up yet again, or your hand
Yep,
is
sorry.
still up.
One clarification. GM Vents, like we did send out letters, or AECOM, our contractor, sent out letters to about 54 homes on the 30th of last month, and I believe they're scheduled to sample those at the end of October sometime. So that is another one that is more recent. So
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
And I don't know if I had anything else after that, Kelly. Did I have any additional slides? So it looks like that's it for me. The last thing I'll mention before we turn it back to you, Sandy, is that our link for our registration for our Great Lakes PFAS Summit will be opening up yet here by the end of the week. And so just encourage everybody to put I want to say it's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th on your calendar as a hold for those days for the virtual Great Lakes PFAS Summit. Going to be a really good conference again. Really looking forward to. We got some really good speakers, and so COG members will get in for free as always. And so if you can, it is virtual and it is recorded. So if you can't make every single session, you can always go back and listen to it later. But it's a great opportunity for you guys to get a lot more of the science and what's going on behind the scenes with the technology and stuff, and just get up to date. So put that on your calendar, and when it comes out, we will send it around and you guys can all register.
All right. Good. Mary, do you want to talk about this in-person meeting or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter to me, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, Mary and I were talking about how nice it'd be if we could all like meet each other in person. Some of us were at another GeoPan thing and got to meet in person, and it was like, oh, that's what you look like. So there was talk of, would there be benefit for us to figure out a time to get together and do a COG meeting in person? I know it would mean people driving. I think Lansing would be the most logical place. So I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. And
I
Mary,
know
you can
there were
answer.
people who had previously brought it up to me that they thought that would be a good idea. And I also agree. I think it would be good before the snow flies.
Mm-hmm. Well, our
I
next
know.
COG meeting is November 12th. So, and I could certainly do that if you guys want to do it, but it's up to the group.
Did you want to meet at a restaurant, or were you thinking having Abby or Kelly reserve a conference room in Con Hall, or because there's paid parking there?
Well, it's but it.
That's what I was
What do you
thinking
think?
is,
Yeah.
I think a restaurant would be very chaotic. But
Sometimes
I'm
some
open
of
to
them
ideas.
have
What do
like
you guys think?
a little room, off to the back. You'd have to like buy lunch and, pay your bill, that kind of thing. But as long as you could reserve some time, however long you wanted to meet, and then everybody could get home.
Mm-hmm.
It's
What do the rest of you think?
Or I can get us a room in Con Hall, and we can do. We don't have to do it at night either.
Right.
If we do it in person, you might want to do it earlier in the day so people can drive home, type of thing. So, but open to suggestions. This might be one, Sandy, where you want to actually go down the list and pick out a few people to call on, because
I know. I know. So, or if nobody's interested, we don't have to do it. I mean, I'm not going to force you to come to a party, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
guys think?
this is Jason. I'd be interested in doing it. So I'm sure there's others as well.
All right. Lynn, what do you think?
That's so funny. I finally was just kind of leaned back and was closing my eyes, just listening. I think in person is always nice. Yeah, I think ideally probably summer is easier, but when you can be outside, but it's also hard to corral people into any sorts of discussions when you're outside. But I'm always thinking that it's well worth it. At the time you think, oh my gosh, why am I, whatever. And then you get there and you meet people and then you go, oh, I'm so glad I got to connect with this person or meet them. And I think it builds bridges. It's always worth it.
Teresa,
And
you
I
got
don't know
any
who's
thoughts?
putting up for I don't know who's putting up for the hotel that night, but I guess I don't have to have a suite.
Teresa, do you have any thoughts?
Depending on where it's at, I would be interested.
Okay. So it sounds like there would be some interest. Anybody opposed to it? Anybody saying feels like a waste of our time? It's a lot of driving. Jocelyn.
I would just ask that if there could be a potential for a virtual option for our friends that are, pretty far away and that's, maybe not a reasonable hike for them for a couple hours, if we could, get them an option like that, that would be
That's a good
helpful.
idea. Make it
Yeah,
a
for those of
hybrid.
us, and for those us who don't drive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of us could pick you up, Gail, but yeah, could we do that, Abby? I've been to meetings where it seems like they do a virtual. It's a little clunky, but it's doable.
Yeah, we can, the OWL technology they've got in Con Hall is actually pretty nice. So it does a 360 spin or almost a 360 spin around the room, and it's pretty nice for those kinds of meetings. So
Okay. So how about we send out a poll to see when people would want to do this and if there's enough interest, and we'll see what we can do. I know we'd like to do it before the snow flies. November is just around the corner. I've got a couple things coming up, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it right away. So it may need to wait till spring is all I'm suggesting. But so, all right.
sounds
Good. Okay, goals. We've put this off long enough. We had a good discussion last time, and I appreciate Kelly doing the polls and all of that we were able to do. So this is the bar graph that everybody got to see for what we all voted on. And I guess the first question is, how many of these do we want to tackle at a time? I don't think it's reasonable to tackle all 9 at a time. But how many, what do people think? And you're gonna have to speak up. I can't just do this as a solo adventure here. So if people could give me ideas first on how many do you think we should work on at a time? Gail, please. Thank you.
I will just get a small number of like 3.
Okay.
And maybe do like 2 of the really big ones and maybe one of the smaller ones that might not be as labor intensive. 2 labor intensive and 1 non-labor intensive. That would be my
Okay.
suggestion.
Okay. So I'm hearing 3 from you, and it doesn't need to be the top 3. All right. Other ideas?
This is Jason again. I agree. 3 or 4 at the most.
Okay. John?
Yeah, even the very first one, if we just even delve into the first one, that's pretty general right now. Even to go ahead and try to focus that a bit more, that might spawn more specific data that'll help lead us to decide how we want to prioritize our time for the scope associated with that number 1 priority.
Okay. All right. So you're thinking just focus on the first one. Mary?
I think number 5, get updates from MDARD. I think that was Daniel's suggestion, but I almost think that was a suggestion more as a education thing for a meeting, not necessarily a goal. So he might have a different idea. It looks like in the chat that he left to tend to a sick child. So
yes, yeah. John,
Sandy,
is your
this is, oh, go ahead. I'll wait.
No, that's okay. John had his hand up, and I was trying to figure out if it was still up or if he had another thought.
Well, we did this to each other in the other meeting, so.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
John, if John has a thought, he could go first. I don't mind.
Go ahead,
He's
Lynn.
not answering. All right, I think that I think we should pick 2, no more than 2. It's so hard to get things done and to really focus on one thing. Maybe 2 that you really hope to make measurable progress on, and then maybe dip into a third, right? It's good to have, like in any project that you're doing, it's good to kind of get the ground going, to not be oblivious to other things. But I think it would be great if more people joined the public notification. Even though that we had a good turnout this time, I mean, that's a priority.
Mhm.
Now let's jump
Okay.
in and see what we can
And
get
these are
done.
just to
And
start. This doesn't mean these are the only two we're going to work on, right? I mean, this is just a starting spot. So I see what you're saying, Lynn. You're saying two to start with.
yeah, as much as I can be a geyser of ideas, I really think that there's a lot of strength in a clear focus. Believe it or not, I have a focus button.
Okay, good to
And when I
know.
really focus in, it's like, and I think as a group, if we could really like focus in and figure it out, it would be huge. That's all.
Excellent. Okay. Rick and then Shelley.
Yeah, I think number 1 and number 3 are really important. I'm not sure what number 2 entails because, you know, we do a lot of focus on education with the website and things like that. But, you know, I think public notification is certainly important. And then, you know, trying to help the communities that feel that their voices aren't heard. I think that's really important. I think a lot of them, like the MDART one, that's a good topic for a meeting, but I don't know if it's a big enough thing for a focus for the whole year. I also think education for physicians. You know, I listened to that story of that gentleman up in Cadillac, you know, going to his doctor, and I think if they had that guidance, there's that publication about, you know, information for physicians, get that out more. And I think it's, you know, out in certain areas, but probably not in, you know, in more rural areas or smaller cities. So that's an important one to discuss in, you know, as we go on. But I think number 1 and number 3 are really, you know, critical ones to work on. So.
Okay, good. Good. All right, Shelley.
So I would argue that a couple of these are would fall under each other's category. So for example, number 4 actually helps with number 3. So if we were even to take the top 3 and start drilling down on what that looks like and what actions we would take to try to reach those goals, you might find that a couple of these other ones will automatically be brought in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think some of these kind of overlap or intermesh. And so as we work on one, we're going to kick some off. And again, I don't see these as like things that we even have to work on for the entire year. To me, these are just like, what are our priorities? I guess is how I would look at it. And if we prioritize, I'm hearing across the board, public notification is a definite. And then if we picked one other, and maybe we can do some voting on that, then those are our priorities to start with. And that shouldn't take us a year. And then once we get that done, we can look at this list or add others to the list and see. But I also think I like the idea of some of these are just, I won't say just, but some of these are trainings that we can maybe plug into as the year goes on, or ongoing trainings that we can plug into. So, Rick, you still got your hand up, or is that a new hand up? And now it's down. So
I just took it down. Sorry.
Okay,
Yep.
that's all right. I want to make sure. All right, so are people okay if we start with number 1 and number 3? Yes, if you're okay, put your hand up. How's that for a quick vote? Or Kelly, do a quick vote. Oh, here we go. 1 and 3, 1 and 3. Oh, I should put my hand up. And you folks on the phone, how do you feel about number 1 is public notification? Number 3 is provide assistance to other communities that feel that their voices are not heard. Feels pretty unanimous to me. Anybody else not voted or not care or have another idea? Okay, you guys can take your hands down. Because now I'm all confused. I don't know if people want to talk or if people are voting. I've screwed this all up. If you want to talk, just blurt it out.
You're doing fine, Sandy.
Okay. All right. Lynn, your hand is still up.
I'm trying to take it down.
Okay, I thought so. All right. So
This is
the
sad.
first,
Okay, hold on.
that's all right. I can ignore it. The first
Sandy,
goals. Yeah,
Oh, dear me.
go ahead. Was that Connie?
yeah, just a quick thing. It would appear to me that food and drinking water are a family's most important concerns. And we're kind of ignoring that. We're also ignoring the fact that throughout the state of Michigan, we've had biosolids applied on ag land, on crop land. We know that there's PFAS in that. We know that root crops take that up. I think we need to focus at least on one of the three, being food and drinking water, particularly given the fact that the American Water Works Association is pushing back against meeting EPA's drinking water standards that have to be done in 2029. What always happens, and this kind of upsets me a lot, is that big business always wins. The folks, the people that live in the state are drinking contaminated water, are eating contaminated food, and state government doesn't really bring that, is not really transparent in that. So my feeling is, I think we need to give clean water and good food that is not contaminated. At least make that one of the three. That's my opinion.
I guess I was seeing the public notification was the kind of a way to make sure that people have clean water. If you're notified of that, it's a way to make sure people have clean water. That was just my thoughts on it as we were talking about the importance of public notification. But I'm open to discussion on this. Or Abby, you turned your camera on, which made me think, oh, now she ran away again. Okay. Thoughts on what Connie said? Is public notification?
I'll open it up to everybody else because we've, I think, done a very thorough job of assessing drinking water across the state, and not under my watch do we know of anybody that's drinking contaminated water. So I guess, Connie, if you feel differently, I'd really like to talk to you.
Well, what about the American Water Works Association pushing back on meeting the 4 part per trillion?
Right, that's for the rest of the country.
You don't have to meet that till 2029, but they're pushing against that.
Tony, are you on? Do you want to talk about that? I know you've been very vocal on that issue.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tony's okay. Lynn, go ahead.
All right. I think what Connie is saying is a really important message. I remember someone telling me, again, the citizens of this group, I know there's a lot of agency people here, but citizens have a voice. And there's all these, everybody else has to worry about being sued. Who's gonna, they're gonna say this or that. I better, we better check it with our lawyers. We better blah, 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 blah. There's so many reasons, but citizens can speak up, and there's no reason. Personally, I don't think why the citizens of this cog can't be a little bit more unflappable somehow and get that message out as part of providing assistance to other communities. Include the message of food and water. Connie's right about that. It's not really comprehended, and it's a simple message. And the more we get it out there, I guess it takes time. But if you can be a little bit of a burr, or a pebble under the foot, in a way, and like the group decides not to go away on this message, we're here. We want to make sure citizens, that's why it's a citizens advisory work group, are these issues are being addressed and not being just thrown in with this other group of quote stakeholders. You know, I mean, it does gall me as well as I see Connie. It's like, I'm sorry, but what does it come down to? It comes down to your profit or your ability. And it's more complex than that, I know, but seriously, safe food and safe water. Who who could say that's not important? So if a polluter is saying it's not important, we got to call them on it. We've got to get our message that we disagree. That somehow this infiltrates into these communities as we meet with them. Because yeah, I'm going. I got to roll back here. I don't want to lose that message of what I think Connie is trying to say. That's all.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't have made it longer for you.
I have Mary and then I have Lois. Go ahead, Mary.
I would echo what Lynn was just saying, but the other thing is that any citizen can contact their legislators as well, because I think from what we've seen, some of it comes down to the laws that are in place, and reaching out to your own legislators would be an important thing. And as Abby pointed out, sometimes the citizens' stories are very impactful as well. So take a
Mary,
look at the laws that are out there.
Mary, I would say that the political contributions mean more to a politician than a citizen's complaint.
Well, I would agree that I think, but also if they don't hear from constituents, then they have nothing to go by. So raising your voice at least gives them a chance to do the right thing.
And again, I want to just point out, these were the goals that we talked about last time. And one of the things I think we tend to do is we sort of snowball in other directions. And so I think it's important, because people were saying they were frustrated that we don't accomplish things. These are not the only things we're going to work on, and not the only things we want to accomplish. I just want to get us the things that we said were the most important, which is public notification to the public if there's concern that their drinking water is contaminated. And also making sure that communities that feel their voices were not heard are heard. That doesn't mean we can't get updates on food supply issues and get that education out, that we can't write a letter back about the lawsuit against the EPA by the water associations and all. We can still chew gum and walk at the same time. I just want to get us laser focused on what these two things are we want to achieve, so we can achieve those quickly and move on. Okay, Lois.
Well, this, I don't know if you want me to say anything more about this, but I was just going to talk about my experience talking with nearly every public water supply operator during my time in the PFAS inventory when we were sampling around the state. And I will say that there was a lot of anxiety when we were first getting started amongst the operators. But for those that have run into PFAS and did need to do some treatment, they weren't pushing back and saying, no, we're not going to do it. My other comment is you could reach out to the Michigan section of AWWA and see if they're, agreeing with AWWA's position on pushing back.
Yes,
and
they
then
are.
The other thing, they are.
Yeah.
Michigan section agrees with AWWA, or Michigan section is supporting
I think
safe
they're,
water.
I don't know. Tony, where are you? Tony, I need you. Tony sent out a press release about this. And I think the person that's in
I
charge
did read
of
it.
Yeah. So, but again,
Cheryl Porter.
let's not go down a rabbit hole here.
Okay. Well,
you know what I mean?
I can do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, my impression is the community water systems here in Michigan support safe water. So I didn't hear anybody saying, no, we're not going to treat for PFAS. So if that helps ease your fears a little bit. And that other states haven't been sampling for PFAS like Michigan has. And they've got some anxiety just like we did back in, 2017, 2018, getting started. And they got to face it. Now they're being forced to face it. And so that's causing some anxiety. Maybe they don't have the support of their own state legislatures to be pushing that kind of funding aside like Michigan had.
Good points. Lynn.
I just wanted to say, Sandy, I appreciate the position that you're in, and I think you're absolutely right. Things will come up along the side, and we can't not ignore them, but to have a focus and to, keep these other things in mind as we move forward is very important. And to have a voice as a group. I've learned not to be very trusting of, of the polluters or necessarily of the higher ups. So I think citizens, and not just one citizen saying something. It's so easy for one citizen just to be disregarded entirely. But if they see you as a strong, unflappable, like we're standing up for, along with as part of MPART, we want to make sure our citizens are safe. And anyway, thanks for what you're doing, Sandy. I it's hard to corral. I could never lead a group. So thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome. All right. So number 1 and number 3, we've set our goals. Now we got to figure out how we're going to achieve these and the best way to do that. And it sounds to me, maybe I'm wrong, sounds to me like public notification is being addressed through the Engaging the Public Subcommittee. Is that correct? Am I hearing this right? Somebody, anybody who is on that committee, tell me. Rick, please save me.
Well, I would like to offer a suggestion.
Oh, thank God. Yes.
Was that in disbelief or what?
That was a thank goodness. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That was my prayers are answered. Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that we have a very comprehensive document that is not being acted on, and I think one way to kind of start shaking it out is to develop some smaller or more focused implementation memos. So, how should we be communicating, the foam issue? How should we be communicating the fish testing? I mean, right now it's the way the way the notification document is written, that you have to notify everybody directly, all potential people notified directly for all media. So, that's a really daunting task. And the exposure for foam is different than the exposure for fish, and that's different from the exposure for water. So it's not a one size fits all, I don't think. And I would rather see the group focus on how to implement, communicating about fish rather than saying, if Eagle is collecting fish samples, that they have to notify everybody in the lake. I think that's what we're saying now, and I think that's a real daunting task because, who uses the lake? I mean, somebody can drive 2 miles to, use the lake. So maybe we should just be strengthening the Eat Safe Fish communication better, get the word out more that way. So, but I think one of the ways to kind of shake this out would be to make some smaller implementation memos fitting like water and foam and fish would be a good starting point. So
Good.
Just my thoughts.
Well, here's my question is, I guess what I'm wondering is, should we have 2 subcommittees, one that works on public notification and one that works on providing assistance, identifying and providing assistance to communities. And both those groups work outside of this meeting to work on these issues. Does that make sense? And then come back and report on that. Or Do we want to start working on that? And I think the value of having two committees, one that works on each goal and then reporting back, is that it may make better use of our time, but then it gives this COG time to talk about new sites that are developed, get reports from MPART. I know we had talked about Rick doing a presentation next time on foam and stuff. So that's why I'm wondering that if we can split our time, is that something people would be willing to do?
That sounds like a good idea, Sandy, to split time.
Yeah, I think it's good too. But the public notification committee, I think I would like to see some guidance on, do you want us to focus on a one size fits all for all media and in all situations, or do you want just smaller implementation memos for the different types of exposures that people have? So.
And is that a conversation that committee could have and come to some agreements on, do you think?
Well, again, a long time ago, I authored a very focused thing and everybody decided to go for the whole enchilada. So they wanted the big picture. So if you want the big picture, that's going to be a lot of work. Or if you would like just some memos related to specific exposures, I think we can knock those out. So I don't have, from my standpoint, I don't know how to implement what we have. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just trying to come up with a way that we can try and implement it.
Yep. Gail and then Lynn.
So maybe this larger group could be the steering committee for those two smaller groups, like giving them what strokes they want, and then we figure out the how. The what is decided here and the how is decided later. Would that work?
I'm open to ideas, you guys.
Am I making sense even? I'm fading fast here.
You don't sound drunk, so I think you're making sense.
Okay.
Lynn, go ahead.
I think that Rick brings up a very important point, because basically we did one large statement back in 2021. Everybody agreed on it, but it wasn't doable. Then we tried to pare it down, and I know the subcommittee worked pretty hard. And then it was opened up to the larger COG, and then all of a sudden, the other members from the COG who hadn't been part of the committee spoke, and a lot of minds got changed, and even people who were on the committee didn't vote for it after it was all. And I just think I think that leads me to the point that having updates from these committees, it needs to be more than an update. It needs to be like, and manageable steps, like Rick has said. We're addressing this. This is what we've got. What does the group think? And getting the feedback early on, so that can be incorporated. But to work so hard on one thing and put it before the group, and then all of a sudden, people who haven't been apprised of it, and there hasn't been any discussion up until that final vote, I don't think that works. So I think it's got to be more than an update. I can see breaking it into two subcommittees, but I think there should be some good discussion and feedback from the larger group as well. I don't think it's just enough to just shoot it off that way personally. And yeah, I like smaller achievable steps myself.
Baby steps, yes. Baby steps are
Well,
good.
bigger than baby, but something.
Well, yeah.
What do others think? Don't make me start calling on you, because I will too.
Yeah, now you can't call on me. Huh.
I know. Jason or John? Come on, you guys. Somebody, what do you think? John.
Yeah, I think it's more important to just kind of start and allow the process for discovery. And as Rick mentioned, there's lots of opportunity to do detailed work, but let's, for me, coming from the outside on this, I'm not even sure what all public notification, entails and what the priorities are. I mean, obviously water and food are good, reasonable priorities. if we can kind of go through the process of allowing for some discovery without having to be so prescriptive, and let the topics kind of evolve, it leaves a little more discussion and openness for meeting the need for what's going on today. I just offer that.
So would you do that in
Speaking
this
of,
meeting as a whole? Would you do that as in this meeting as a whole group? Or would
Oh,
you?
no.
So you'd
I
have
would,
still like half the group, but do a lot of discussion about it.
I would do it in the subcommittee, to kind of
Okay.
kick it off and propose, a focus area that seems relevant, and then just kind of do the validation with the COG group or however. It
Got it.
doesn't mean that we only have to communicate at these meetings. I mean, there's emails too,
Right.
right? So
Right.
depends on the priority, depends on what comes up,
Okay.
and then adjust as needed, without
Right.
spending too many hours on one particular focus area that may not be relevant, or have some other relevant priorities.
Right.
I think there's so much discovery that happens when you just take the time to just sort out the issues and do it in a smaller group. I mean, that helps.
Connie, you were going to say something?
Yeah, following up on John's suggestion of discovery, I think it's really important that if Kelly could do this, send out that public notification document that the COG worked so hard on for at least 2 years. It seems like that was just, again, something thrown on the shelf and never looked at again. And the subcommittee members really put blood, sweat, and tears into preparing that public notification document. So for discovery, I would really like to see that be the basis when we start talking about public notification, and have
Now, here's
everybody on
the
the
good
COG get a
news.
copy.
Here's the good
Yeah, I
news,
like that too.
Connie.
I like that too.
Kelly informed us that all this stuff is here on the MPART website that we can go to and get ourselves, so that she can get
that's
her
good.
day job done. So how about this as a way to start? How about if we have, because I like Lynn's idea that it can't just be a brief report back to the whole COG, right? But I also want to be able to have time here that we can respond to things as they come up. So if we started with 2 subcommittees, and I would ask everybody to agree to participate in one of those 2. And if you have the time to do both, that would be great. But I would really like the commitment for people to participate in one of those 2. And those subcommittees just start by defining what the problem is, and maybe some short-term goals in the meantime of what they want to do. That can be the discovery process of figuring out what we've done. That could be taking polls of what's needed, whatever that may be. And then what if we set aside a half hour of each of the meetings is those subcommittees to not just report back, but have discussion with the whole group, with the whole COG. That would leave us an hour to quickly do our other business. Does that sound like a process we could do, or at least try?
That sounds wonderful to me, but that's me. I would love that.
Okay, but that at least somebody spoke up, and Gail shook her head. I saw that.
Yes. I'm now rattling my head for you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Jason. I agree with that approach.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good, Sandy.
Okay. So I vote we do that.
All right, so let's do that.
Kelly, will you do a quick vote to make sure people are in agreement with that? I don't want people yelling at me later.
Sandy, you're putting me on the spot to do a vote? You mean like back?
Just the
this
to-do
kind
list.
of vote.
Yeah, that kind of vote.
Yes. Okay. So say again what they're.
So here's
voting
what we're
for.
voting on. Here's what we're all agreeing to the best of our ability. Every person is going to sign up for at least one of the 2 subcommittees. Pick a chair of that subcommittee, set up regular meetings. I think once a month is fine. I'm not expecting people to give their life to this. That each subcommittee is going to come up with short-term goals and identify the problem. We're agreeing that the COG meetings will have a half hour for discussion for each subcommittee. So it will be 1 full hour of our COG meeting will be on these 2 goals that we're trying to achieve. The rest of that time then could be on updates, on educational things, on presentations and that stuff. If you agree that that's the format we're going to follow, let's just say for the next 5 or 6 months, then vote yes.
Okay. Brad. Oh, Brad's gone. Connie.
Yes.
Dan's gone. Jason.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Lois.
Yes.
Lynn McIntosh.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had to leave for a minute. What are we? Was this roll call?
No.
Oh, Lynn. We're talking about separating into 2 groups, reporting back for a half hour so we can have discussion with the whole COG at each meeting on what was decided.
Love it. I love it. That's great.
Okay.
I sat down just in time. Yes. Sorry about that, Cindy.
Mary.
Yes.
Yes.
Way to go, Patty.
Portia's gone.
Portia left to go to a different meeting.
Rick.
Yes.
Sandy, you got to say
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Please, yes.
Shalene.
So I apologize. I did have to step out to let my dog outside. I understand what we're voting on, but I have a small concern with the fact that if all the members are going to be required to attend one of the 2 subcommittee meetings, that there might be times that aren't amenable to a schedule. And so what if a person can't attend either one because of when they're scheduled?
That's all right. I'm not looking to, I'm not the IRS. We're not going to force you into this.
Thank goodness.
I just want people to make the absolute commitment to doing this is all I'm asking. But I
Okay,
understand
then-
things come up. I get that.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
then yes, my vote's yes. Thank you for explaining.
Teresa.
That was my concern too. I don't mind splitting up, but I cannot commit to attending various meetings because my schedule is truly booked. So I'll vote yes with hesitation.
Got it.
Bill.
Yes.
Gail Manswitz.
Yes.
And it looks like, oh, Tony's here. Yeah. Tony's vote.
I hope Tony didn't faint or something, but he's not answering. So we'll take he abstained. It's still unanimous. So we'll do it this way. So it sounds like Portia is going to be doing the a doodle poll or something for the public notification, which I'm assuming that's going to be, or for the public engagement, which can we just use that for public notification, you think? Was that your thoughts for whoever was on
I
that
think
committee
so.
today?
Yeah,
I
I think
think so.
that's what we wanted to do. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So,
Oh, wait a minute.
Maybe we should
Go ahead.
change the name of the committee. You know.
that will be your first responsibility then, picking a pithy
Thank you.
name.
Well, all right, got it.
Teresa, is your hand up? And Kelly, I know your hand's up. And maybe Teresa's not. Go ahead, Kelly.
So I have a question. I've participated on calls for the web review subcommittee and the engaging the public subcommittee. And I'm wondering if I can continue to participate on those calls, not to guide the conversation, but to kind of be there for any questions or, do whatever I can do to help.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. It's up to you guys. The more the merrier.
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
To have you
I know
involved.
technically we as state employees are not considered members, so I didn't know if you guys would allow us in the door for those or.
But we have Harry and Jocelyn participating too, right?
Right.
So, I think the more of you government employees that want to participate, I have no issue with that. This is a team effort. So, I think the more hands we have on deck, the better our product will be. So that's what I would suggest. So we just need to figure out a time and a name for the other committee, which is actually engaging the public, but we won't call it that because then we'll get really confused.
Yeah.
So I'll work with Kelly to figure out a doodle poll for the second committee then, okay?
So.
All right. Anything else on goals tonight before my head explodes? Cool. There you go.
Oh, that's a pretty picture. I like that.
Next meeting, November 12th. We even got done early tonight.
Wow.
So
I
the
am-
next meeting, Rick, you're going to do a presentation on the foam issue, correct?
I'm just going to share the slides that I used for the Muskegon presentation.
Okay.
So I'm not going to talk about foam in general, but I'm going to, just go over. I mean, we're dealing with an unexpected foam issue in Muskegon and how the Muskegon Watershed Partnership, wants to handle it. So, but yeah, I'll talk about foam. So.
Great. Good. Okay. All right. So let's plan on that, and we'll talk about how the subcommittee group is working then. All right. Any
Thank you,
closing?
Sandy.
All right.
Thank
Any
you, Sandy.
closing statements?
Closing statements.
Oh, and don't forget the Great Lakes.
Enjoy the leaves, everybody. Enjoy the beautiful leaves.
Go enjoy the leaves. Go enjoy the last days of sunshine.
Yes.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Enjoy, everyone.
Thanks, Sandy. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Wonderful. Thank you, you guys.
Okay, see ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.